Hello and welcome to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nikeya, and I am so excited about today's guest. We have with us none other than Dr. Michele Ryan from Lewis University. Hello, Dr. Michele. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Dr. Nikeya. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So, for everyone who is new here, we are doing a theme this season called Women in Command. And it's basically a pickup of where we ended season 5 with. And I'm talking to some dynamic women. Some of us are CEOs, some of us are career women in the workforce, and just getting different perspectives on different topics. Today, we're going to be talking to Dr. Michele about mamas in command, being a mama in command and balancing all things children and business and all that fun stuff. So can you just start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Again, and please call me Michele.
Okay.
I am an assistant professor at Lewis University. I teach business administration courses. I have been at Lewis since 2005. For the first 10, 15 years, I was director of admission for the Graduate School of Management on campus and also taught adjunct as faculty. And then I was lucky enough to interview for and secure a spot full-time faculty back in 2019, right as COVID hit. So I have been doing that. And then I'm also the co-faculty sponsor for the Women in Business Club at Lewis University.
Yes, awesome. And I had the privilege and the honor of going to Lewis and being on an executive women's panel with Michele and some other fantabulous panelists. It was a wonderful experience. So let's jump right in there. What has been your experience so far being a co-sponsor of this Women in Business Club?
It has been one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing clubs in the university. And I think that just speaks volumes to the fact that it was needed. And we have I believe there's a Women in Aviation Club because Lewis is very well known for aviation. And our founding member, Sherilyn Muir, who was on the panel with you as well, she is the one that actually said, hey, we need a Women in Business Club. Let's get this going. And Dr. Belgio and myself were nominated as co-sponsors. We decided to go for it. We had so many people sign up, and it's open to everyone. It's open to all gender identities. It's open to all majors. So we have people in there who are male identifying, and there was a gentleman or two at our panelist session. And so it's really nice just to see that this was something that was needed. We have a lot of fun with it. We get a lot of input from our members about what they're looking for. We do resume workshops, networking, things like that. So it's really been a blessing. We're really lucky to have it.
Amazing. So what have been some of the top concerns of the students, the women who are in this club and the people who are joining and coming? What are they most looking to see or get knowledge on?
Good question. They are very nervous about what happens after graduation. You're in high school, you go through those 4 years, you roll into college. So everything is mapped out for students who go to college. Granted, not everyone follows the same exact path linearly, freshman through senior year. Sometimes students take breaks, but a lot of them say, we do not know what to expect after we graduate, and that's what we need help with. And so I think that's why one of the questions on the panel was help. What do we do? What do we need to look for as we are graduating? And so that's why we put a lot of emphasis on, let's look at your resumes. Let's talk about interviewing. Let's network with executive women so you can see, here are things you can expect. Here are challenges. Here are benefits. So I think that's one thing that they're most nervous just about getting into the quote unquote real world.
Yeah. Well, this is a very good club for them to glean some knowledge. And I know that you've done a few panels and continuing to bring women in to talk to them. And I think that is fabulous because that's one of the things, regardless of your major in college, it's always a plus when you get to talk to people who are out there doing it so that you can demystify some of the expectations of or what's going to happen. So kudos to
Right.
you on that.
Oh, thank you. It's fun. We have a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Now, I noticed you also have a master in communication. And so tell me, let's talk about communication for a little bit. What do you think are some of the biggest, I don't want to say issues, biggest challenges with teaching people how to communicate?
That's a good question. One of the biggest issues with teaching people how to communicate, especially this generation, is
Mhm.
they are so used to social media. And not
Yes.
that that's a bad thing. That's what they've grown up with. I did not grow up with that. So I was taught, how to write emails, how to write business reports, how to hold meetings, how to hold presentations. And sometimes the students are coming to me and they'll send me an email and they'll say, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And when I was growing up, I was taught it was, you use business manners, business
Mhm.
etiquette. And I think that they all have that. They're really good students. But I think it's just trying to break through that. Remember, you're not on social media.
Mhm.
You're in the world where people expect you to not use jargon and not use, catchphrases. You have to be very professional. And I've never run into any students that have issues with that, but I can just tell that that's something that I have
Mhm.
to teach them as they're going through it.
Yes, that is real. I kind of thought you were going to say something along those lines, and I'm actually glad you did because social media has been a blessing and a curse. It has brought us so many creative ways to communicate and brand yourself in business and all of this, but it has also made it challenging with communicating in business when there's a whole generation of people coming up who did not understand a world before social media and a world after. Like all they know is social media. And so that can be challenging. Have you had some challenging conversations around AI? Because that's the next big thing being thrown in there.
I wouldn't say I've necessarily had challenging conversations. It is something that is a conversation as a whole in the
Mhm.
university. I'm one of the professors that says, let me teach you how to use this ethically because
Mhm.
this can help you. So, for example, my students are working on an analytical business report in groups. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do today. And this was a few weeks ago. I said, I want you to go to ChatGPT and I want you to go in and say, type out an outline for this report and see what it
Mhm.
comes up with. And they were just, oh my gosh, this saved us hours of trying to, figure out what to write. And I said, so here's what you have to do. I said, you have to look at this and you have to then kind of weed through it and say, first, is this accurate? I said, because you can never trust AI. It might spit
Mhm.
out statistics that are completely false, or you don't know where it's getting its information from. So I said that this is a tool for you to use. To help you. It's not something that you can use to write a paper, but it's something you can use to help you if you're stuck and you say, I don't know what to do with this point. Help me break this down. And so I'm one of those that is pro AI as long as it is being used ethically. And I try to teach them how to use it ethically.
Very good. Heavy on the ethical usage. Heavy,
Yes.
heavy, heavy on that. So, very
Yes.
good. All right, let's switch gears into motherhood for a little
Sure.
bit. You have a daughter. Tell us about her.
Sure. I have a daughter who's 11. Her name is Isla, and she is in sixth grade right now.
Mhm.
And she is in choir, which she loves. Her school is going to state in a couple weekends, so she's very excited about that.
Awesome.
And she's just a joy. But I've raised her to be someone who speaks to others as you would want them to speak
Mhm.
to you, which at times is funny because sometimes she'll talk to me as if she's an adult and I'm the child, which is hilarious to me. The other day I said something to her and I forget what she said. She said something like, "Whoa, attitude, mom." And I was like, "Nope, you're right." I said, I'm sorry, you're right." So I'm all about raising her in the belief that it's okay to acknowledge when you have a little bit of sass and apologize if you have it. I was raised to be very, you listen to the parents and they're never wrong. And I'm fine telling her, look, I messed up. I'm really sorry, because I think it's important for her to know that we're people too, as parents.
Yes,
So.
that is very important what you just said. That is something that I am doing with my kids as well. And sometimes it's like, mommy is not in a good mood today. And mommy's sorry.
Right.
Mommy needs some time to herself for a minute.
Right.
Just being open and honest, or
Right.
coming back and say, mommy's sorry for you. Mommy shouldn't have yelled. Mommy needs to do a better job of communicating.
Right, right, absolutely. I think that's so important. I really do. I just think there's such value in them seeing we have emotions and we are
Mhm.
not perfect. And I think that just helps them to grow as people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was from a generation where I was raised by baby boomers. And
Mhm.
the children should be seen and not heard generation. And my mom did do a better job of talking to me about what I was feeling, or she was very intentional about doing things that she wished her parents had done with her when she was a kid. And then my mom raised me as a single parent. So my aunts, some of her sisters, they were like my second moms. And it was very interesting because my mom would be like one of my aunts was her best friend. They lived close together, so they were always doing things together. And their styles of parenting were good cop, bad cop. So where my mom would be loving and understanding, my aunt would just be like, "Why are you talking to her about that? You just need to whoop her butt."
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So I definitely had the two different styles of parenting growing up. But yes, teaching them and just giving them the idea that adults make mistakes. We're not these beings that just know everything and we're never wrong. And yeah, that's important.
I was raised somewhat similarly. My mom was more relaxed, and my dad, who was a wonderful parent, but you just did what you were told.
Mhm.
You didn't talk about emotions, you just did it. And so now with my daughter, I'm really trying hard to explain everything that we do and get
Mhm.
her to talk about her emotions, because it's important.
Mhm. Awesome. So tell me what you are a career woman, obviously. So tell me what that's like, balancing that with motherhood.
It's a balance for
Mhm.
sure. I am divorced, and I've been divorced for about 6 years now, but
Okay.
my ex-husband and I are very close. We're very much still very good friends, on the same team, obviously, because of our daughter. And so that definitely makes it a lot easier to have a co-parent
Yeah.
who shares the same ideals that you do as far as raising a child. But it is a balance. It's a lot of making sure you get to work, and making sure that homework's done, and making sure the house is clean, and making sure their mental health is okay, and making sure your mental health is okay.
Mhm.
And it can be quite a lot. So it is a delicate balance, trying to figure out what cup to fill,
Yeah.
knowing that your child should always be the main cup to fill, because you're the one raising them. So it's definitely a balance.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you do to help fill your cup and make sure your mental health is okay?
So I'm going to sound like an 80-year-old grandmother, but I have recently started crocheting.
Oh, okay.
And I had never done it before. And one of my good friends from Lewis, she was crocheting. We were hanging out one day at her house, and she just whipped out this little blanket and started crocheting, and it looked so relaxing. And I said, you have to teach me how to do that. So I do
Mhm.
that on some downtime. I love to read. I love to go for walks and just sit outside. I feel like that's very grounding for
Mhm.
me. I love to do things. For example, on Friday, I'm going to go get my hair done.
Mhm.
And to me, that is something that makes me feel good, and it's relaxing. And just so I try to fit little things in where I can.
Yeah. That is very good. And it's good for our kids to see us doing that. I think it helps them to know that, sometimes mommy just needs to take care of mommy. And once mommy does that, I can come play with you, I can interact with you, but mommy is depleted. Mommy needs to get out of this house and go
Right,
go to a nail
right,
appointment. And I don't know
right.
about your daughter, but my kids, they think that they are supposed to go with me everywhere or go. Really, my daughter's more
Mhm.
so than my son. My son is kind of like, he'll be okay. He follows my husband everywhere. But my
Yeah,
daughters are just like, where is mommy going? Oh no, we need to be
yeah,
there too. And my
right.
husband will explain to me, mommy's going, she'll be back. So that taking care of yourself, stepping aside and doing those. I was listening to some podcast and they said, self-care is more than just a nail appointment or a hair appointment. And I'm like, yeah, but it's also a nail appointment and a hair appointment.
Exactly, exactly. And if that's your self-care, that's your self-care. There's no
Yeah.
one who can define what it is for you. And so if it's going to McDonald's and getting a hot fudge sundae and that's it, if that's your self-care, then so be it. It's
Yeah.
like you have to find I actually read something really interesting a few weeks ago because we all have points in our lives where we're completely stressed and
Yes.
overwhelmed and everything looks gray and it's just like going through mud. And I read something the other day that said, look for the glimmers. And
Mhm.
so what that meant was like in your day, look for a smile from someone, look for a picture that makes you laugh. If you see a meme that makes you laugh, those are your little glimmers for the day and kind of pick those up and put them in your pocket and save them
Yes.
because eventually they do build up. So I thought that
Yeah.
was neat.
I love it. I love that you said to collect memes because I do that all the time. I can be serious and all that business stuff, but I am so silly. I love laughing. I
Yep.
believe that laughter is medicine. So people who
Yes.
follow me on social media, I am very quick to put a funny meme in my stories or something that just makes me howl with laughter because not only do I like to laugh, I want to try to put something on the timeline to lift the spirits of others
Right.
because the world is just bonkers right now.
It is. But it's so funny you say that, Nikeya, because I have an Instagram account and I've had it for years and I do not post posts.
Mhm.
I post memes all day long in my stories. That's it. That's all I do on Instagram because I find stuff that I think is hysterical. And then, it's funny to see the little reactions from people, the
Mhm.
laughing face or the heart. And it's like, oh, good, that made someone else laugh. So
Yeah,
that's all I have it for. I think it's hilarious to do that.
it is. It is. And now I'm gonna do it a lot more because it's an election year and I'm like, oh nope, the timeline needs some joy.
I'm gonna have to just close social media for,
Oh God.
it's I can't take that again. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm. I
Too
mean, when you
much.
think about the last election year that we had was also the year the world fell apart with COVID.
Yes. Yes. It was just a disaster all the way around.
A
Absolutely.
complete disaster. I'm like, Lord, please let this election year be a lot kinder to us because
Right.
I can't take any more world calamity.
Right. Right. I know. Yes. Yeah. And that was difficult as a parent as well, talking
Mm.
about being a working mother and having COVID hit, I think that was something that it really affected parents in
It did.
general. And
It did.
a lot of it's always been said that the women are the ones that are supposed to power through and continue on.
Mm.
And I just remember it being so, so tough. And I think I had mentioned to you that I had actually pulled my daughter from school that year and homeschooled her
Yeah.
because I was trying to teach online. She was trying to do school online. She would come out crying because
Mhm.
our internet crashed. And I thought, you know what? The stress is just not worth it for either one of us. And
Yeah.
so and I'm sure you experienced the same kind of, well, you said you had your twins during COVID,
Yeah,
right?
that
Around that
was
time?
crazy. I had them right when lockdown started. So
Oh my God.
March 11th, 2020, I went to the doctor for my doctor's office was in the hospital, just on a different side of the hospital. And I went for my
Mhm.
34-week checkup and did not get to go back home They said,
Oh
oh,
my goodness.
you have 2+ protein in your urine and your blood pressure is high. You have preeclampsia. We're admitting you. I'm like, wait, what? I did not come here to have a baby today.
Great. So like, time out. No.
What is happening? Like, it took me a
Right.
minute to register. Like, are you serious? They said, yes, please go check in. So I went to go to the other side and get all checked in, and they're hooking me up to all the monitors and everything. And I'm just like, and they're just like, please stay calm. You know, you don't want to stress yourself out because it'll just make your blood pressure go even higher. So we're getting me all checked in. My husband leaves to go. We had our son with us. He drove me because at that point in my pregnancy, it was just like you can barely see your feet, especially me because I was pregnant with 2 people. And so we had some friends that our birth plan was when we go to the hospital to have the baby, he will stay with our friends.
Yeah.
So my husband's like, okay, babe, I'm going to take him over, go home and get him an overnight, bag, get him a bag packed together and go take him to our friend's house. And then I'll come back. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm admitted. I'm waiting for him to come back. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and it's taking a long time. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? On his
Yeah.
way to the house to get the bag, someone hit him and totaled our minivan.
Get out.
Yeah, total. Like every single last airbag in the minivan was deployed. When I
Oh
saw
my
the
goodness.
pictures of the wreckage afterwards, I was like, I can't believe that my husband and my son walked away from this accident with no injuries. My husband had like whiplash, but that was it. But the
Yeah.
was
Oh
total.
my God. What are the odds of that happening?
And then we had just gotten the minivan. We just got the minivan that, okay, so I was admitted on a Wednesday. We just got the minivan on Monday. So we had it for 2 days. Mhm.
Oh my God, Nikeya.
Yeah. And then lockdown started that night. That was it. Lockdown
Oh
started
my
that night.
gosh.
So when he finally got back to the hospital to me,
Yeah.
everything is locked down, the world is closed, like all kinds of stuff is happening. And because of my health condition, he could not tell me about anything because they were trying to
Oh,
keep the babies inside for as long as they could. They were able to keep them in for like 4 days. So I was admitted on
okay.
the 11th and they came on the 15th. And
Wow.
I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They had to stay in the NICU for an additional week and a half after I was discharged. I didn't
Hmm.
find out about the accident or anything until I believe a week and a half later. It was
Oh
almost
my
time for me to be
gosh.
discharged. And he was like, yeah, so I have a question for you. I'm like, what? He's like, do you prefer charcoal gray or light gray? And I'm like, why? And he's like, I have some things for you to look at. And he shows me these 2 minivans. And I go, we have a minivan already. He's like, yeah, about that.
Oh my goodness. God love your husband for being able to keep that in for over a
Yeah.
week. My goodness.
Yes. It was just the craziest. I just called 2020 was the most unserious time in history because every day I
Yeah.
woke up like, this is so unserious. This cannot be real
Yeah.
life. What is going
Right.
on?
Right.
Trying to explain to my 3-year-old why all of a sudden he can't play with anyone and we can't go anywhere. It was
Right.
just nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. What a story. My goodness.
But yeah, March 2020, we jokingly in our household refer to March 2020 as Hell Month.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went through 3 different automobiles. Everybody in the house was hospitalized except for my son at some point in March of 2020.
Goodness.
Between March 11th and the end of March.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. The world was closed. We were
Mhm.
just, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're knocking on wood. We're hoping that this
Right.
election season is kinder to us, even though we are teeter-tottering on the brink of World War III. We will just ignore that.
We're just not going to talk about that. We're
Just
just not
ignore
going to
that.
talk about it. Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of ways, we're laughing about it, but I feel like in a lot of ways, kids are still recovering from, we all are still recovering from that
Absolutely.
time. It was a time where it was kind of like a demarcation where there was before 2020 and after, because nothing's quite been the same since.
Hey, and I would have to say to that, just speaking about being a mother, I feel that way toward a lot of my students, and that's my job is to teach. But I have my students who are juniors and seniors who I affectionately call the COVID kids because
Yeah.
they were in high school and now they're getting ready to graduate.
Mhm.
And I've spoken with, I don't know how many of them who are saying, I'm having a mental health crisis.
Yeah,
And it's just finally all clicking to me like this is COVID. This
it
is
is.
partially probably due to that. So
Mhm.
it's so interesting to see how it's played out this far.
Yeah. How are you checking in with your daughter to make sure she's okay in light of all of that?
We have very open conversations. That's one thing I love about our relationship. And you mentioned earlier about parents always trying to do what they wished their parents would have done.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned in my household, it was very loving, but it was, you don't have a say. And
Mhm.
so it was very closed off as far as talking about emotions. So with my daughter, I'm all, let's have conversations. Let's be honest. I'll tell you how I'm feeling. You tell me how you're feeling. So
Mhm.
I'm really glad that we have that. I think it's important to be able, like we talked about earlier, to show that we are people and we have emotions, and it's okay to have the dynamic of having two emotions at the same
Yeah.
time, maybe being mad but being grateful. There's always some kind of dynamic, so I think it's important to just keep those open conversations. So I try to do that a lot with her.
Absolutely. And you did mention your students too, because I'm a former educator and I know being an educator is like you have your kids at home, but then you have all these other surrogate kids. And even
Right.
though it's college is a little different because they are adults, but what are some things that you are doing to stay plugged in and help them navigate the mental health challenges that they're facing as well?
I just always tell them one of the first things every semester, the very first class, I tell all of my students, I said, I'm probably one of the more relaxed professors you'll ever have. I said, I want you to know that you can come to me with anything, because I remember being in college and you walk into class and it's just to the point. Here we go. Here's, what we're learning. And
Yeah.
so I really try from the beginning to have them see me as someone they can talk to and communicate with. And I will have them email me, not about class, but about something else, needing help. And of course, I will help them. And just little things, checking in with them, emailing them if I've known that they've had issues with something or a problem with something. And I had one of my students yesterday, I saw in the faculty area, he was getting ready for an appointment. And I said, do you need any snacks? Do you need any chips? I have stuff in my
Mhm.
office. And I said, that's just the mom and me. And he's like, no, no, I'm okay. But it's like they are adults, but to
Mm.
me, I think back to that age, and but looking back, it's like they're babies still.
Yes.
They're not in the real world yet. So I mean, they are to a point, but they're not in full-time corporate America or
Mhm.
entrepreneurs or whatever it is that they're doing. So just lots of checking in, just lots of letting them know that I'm always available. And that's all I can do. And it's up to them to come see me. But I always tell them my door is always open.
Yeah. That's awesome. So they're going to grow up and they're going to become moms one day. Do they ever ask you, what is it like? Like, Miss Ryan, what do we do? And how do you balance being a mom? And because, there's this whole belief system that's still floating around out there a little bit that you're either going to be a career woman or you're going to be a mom, but you're not going to do them both at the same time.
Right, right. I've only had a couple ask me that, and they say, how do you do that? And it's funny because once you are a mom, you don't question how you do it. You just do it.
You just do
It's
it.
just part of your day. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
no choice. Um, so I just tell them it's doable, but
Mhm.
you also just have to make sure that there is a good balance.
Yes.
I've heard people say, oh, my child's always asking me, when are you getting off the computer? When are you getting off?
Mm.
And I've never wanted to be that way. So I can even tell for myself that there's times I just need to shut down the laptop and spend time with my child. And work will always be there.
Yes.
Work is not going anywhere, but the time with your family is so important. It really is. And
Yeah.
so I haven't had that asked too many times, but I just let them know it's doable. You can do whatever you want. But I always tell them too, their generation is so lucky because
Yes.
in my generation and most likely yours, it was
here is one path you can take. Here
Mm-hmm.
is one job you should have, and you should have that for 30 years, and you should retire whether or not you hate the job. And there's no remote work, there's no, sick time, there's no mental health awareness. And I said, your generation has it so wonderfully because you can choose the organizational culture you want to go into. If
Mm-hmm.
you are interviewing somewhere and you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to take the job.
Mm-hmm.
If you want remote work and they don't offer it, guess what? You don't have to take that job. There's so much out there that they can go for, which is so refreshing for them. And I think it's really helpful for them. And I think that will help as they become moms as well,
Mm-hmm.
to say, I need to find a company that's going to have good solid maternity leave or a plethora of sick days or
Mm-hmm.
has an on-site daycare. There's so much that companies are offering now, and it's just them having to try to figure out what works for them
Mm-hmm.
in the future, even if they don't have children and they know that's something they want. It's something to really pay attention to. And it's okay to switch jobs. It's
Yeah.
okay, 100%. That's one of the awesome things about this generation. They can have 6, 7 jobs by the time they retire, but it's about being happy. It's about finding a culture that makes them happy to work at. I think that's so vital for people.
Yes, it is. I was literally just talking about this on another podcast interview that I did with someone. And
Mhm.
yes, it's a generational shift because the millennials and Gen Z and all that, they are, and even us late Gen Xers or those of us who are on the cusp, really, really good at taking care of our mental health. And a lot of times people from older generations don't know how to take that because they're used to just suck it up and go on. And we're just, that suck it up and go on has limits.
Yes,
You do that too much and it's pushing and it's a top that's gonna blow.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I love to see that these later generations have a handle on that and that they are
Yes.
like, You Won't Break My Soul by Beyonce is their theme song in life. Oh no, I'm not
Yeah.
going to have a soul breaking job. I'm going to love what I do.
Exactly. And have a
Yeah.
balance that works.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do you think is the future of women in business? If we could fast forward to about 10 years from now, what do you think the landscape for women in business is going to look like?
That's an excellent question. I think that just looking at the percentages of students at Lewis, for example, we
Mhm.
have more women in the MBA program than men. We have
Mhm.
more females in the business administration program than males. And when I worked back in the day at Lewis with the MBA program, the women were so petrified of starting an MBA program because it was
Mm.
quantitative and they were worried about that. They were worried about the numbers and accounting and economics. And when I had gone through an MBA program, I had come from a liberal arts background. I had no clue what I was doing. I was petrified, but I always told them it was really cool because I was using a side of my brain that I didn't know existed with
Mhm.
accounting and economics. So
Yeah.
I think seeing this trend of more and more confidence, I
Yeah.
think, women saying, okay, we can have families or not have families. We can be executives. We can pave our own way. And I just think in 10 years, I think we're going to see so many more executives and CEOs and entrepreneurs because I think they're finally, this isn't 60 years ago where the mom stays home and cooks and cleans. And I have so much respect for any mom who does that. My goodness, when I homeschooled for a year, that was the toughest time of my life. And I cannot imagine. I get so many props to women who do that. But outside of that, if they wanted to make that decision to say, I'm all about this. This is what I want to do. This path has been paved for so many years now, and I think it's just going to get increasingly better. And I think we're going to have a lot of female CEOs and owners and entrepreneurs really kind of popping up over the next 10 years.
I totally can see that as well. I think we're going to see a female president too.
That would be amazing. That would
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that at least in another 10 years from now, even less, because we already have our first female VP, I believe
Mhm.
that the world would be more ready to handle a female president than at any other time in history.
Yes, I agree. I agree, definitely. And once that has been achieved, I mean, it's go time. It's like confidence is unleashed, and it's just it's going to be such a wonderful experience for women to see that happen.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, now before we close out, I want to talk about the executive panels because I know you
Sure.
mentioned that that's been a thing that's going to be ongoing. The students are asking for it and wanting to hear from women from all walks of life in business who are doing this and can give them some perspective. So, what should people do if they are interested in coming to Lewis and presenting on a panel?
If they are interested, they are welcome to reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I'm happy to chat with them. We're always looking for people. We don't want to try to get a panel with people from all of the same sector, like everyone's in marketing or everyone's in healthcare. We really want to change it up and have as many different opportunities for panelists as possible. So yeah, they can reach out to you to reach out to me if you want to pass my name along, whatever works.
I will definitely do that. Thank you so much for your perspective. I have enjoyed this discussion about motherhood, about business, about mental health, and all the things. What are some parting words of wisdom that you will have for any mothers out there who are listening, who are trying to balance it all, and how to take command in their personal and professional lives?
I think that it's just important for them to know that they are important, they are worth it, and they have the right to say, this is what I need for myself, this is what I need for my family, to have that confidence, to lean on any support you have, whether it's neighbors, family, friends, anything you have. Everyone, it used to be, it takes a village, and then we all have individual houses now, and there's no more village. And so we don't have those families where 5, 6, 7, 8 people are living together and helping out. It's the mom, the dad, or just the mom, or just the dad, whatever the setup may be. So I think it's just use your support system, keep your confidence, and advocate for yourself and your family. I think that's most important.
Very, very, very good advice. And if you don't have a support system, you have to be intentional about building one because
Exactly.
you cannot do it alone.
Right.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. I so appreciate your insights.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. This was very exciting, and I love the conversation. Great topic.
Oh, thank you. You are so welcome. All right, you all. Thank you all for tuning in. You can get more information about the executive panels taking place at Lewis University by following Dr. Michele Ryan on LinkedIn, or you can just send me an inbox at info@victoriousliving-solutions.com, and I will send you all her details and get you on a panel so we can impart wisdom into these amazing women at Lewis University. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and give us some insights in the comment section how this episode encouraged you. That is really all that I have for you all. Thank you for tuning in and keep living victoriously. Bye, everybody.